What is going on, everybody? Darksword 255 here, and it's not just Darksword here. It is Darksword and Bront Catherder. He has been on the channel once before. He is a good friend. He is somebody who actually got me into creating content for Raid. He is one of the most knowledgeable content creators, in my opinion, in this game, and he has really kind of blown up in the scene the last year, really. I mean, mainly his free-to-play knowledge and like crafting and being almost first place in the free-to-play challenge with Hell Hades. And he's continuing his free-to-play series as well, so make sure to go to his channel. But today he is joining me, and we're going to be talking about a very important topic, and that is fusions. Now, him and I already recorded a video kind of going over some different stuff about fusions, so go and check out his channel as well, guys. But in today's video, the main goal is talking about fusions and how to prepare so you do not miss a fusion. To become part of my team, click the link in the description right now to get Elenaril for free, as well as 3 more amazing epic champions as you level up. Here's how you do it. Log out of Plarium Play on your PC and uninstall it. Click the link in the description, register with a brand new email, launch Raid, and complete the tutorial. Go to your inbox and claim your first champion. Don't miss out on this chance to get a free Elenaril along with 3 epics as you progress through Raid. Click on my link right now and let's get started. There's a lot of really great resources out there nowadays compared to how fusions have run in the past. And also, it's important to note that fusions over time have gotten significantly harder. I was watching a video from Big Papa Drock, and he actually went back to previous fusions and looked at the point requirement to get like certain events, and it's astonishing. I highly recommend checking out his video also. We're going to be touching a little bit upon that in this video, but Bront, you have some of, like I said, so you have some insane game knowledge, especially around free-to-play. I mean, just in general, obviously, but as a free-to-play main, that's your main focus of content. How do you prepare? What is the best way in your eyes to prepare for a fusion, especially with the amount of resources that you need?
Yeah, it is definitely tough. And honestly, the first thing that you need to do to prepare for a fusion is understand that there are going to be summons during that fusion. So that means that you need to make sure that you have enough shards available on your account. And the 2 ways to do that are to first make sure you've taken care of your core clan boss team to get yourself to Ultra Nightmare and be able to, at very least, 3-key. I would recommend mostly 3-keying Ultra Nightmare. My free-to-play, for example, I 3-key it, I 4-key it when you're at Force, unfortunately. So it's not quite a consistent 3-key, but it is a guaranteed 4-key with pretty much no other issues. So that is a huge, huge first step, which I know seems weird, but the amount of shards you get, it's the best way to get sacred shards. It's the best way to get shards in general, is being able to do clan boss. So get your clan boss team going, but you also want to be saving those shards because it is so tempting to pull shards at every willy-nilly event that happens. And the chance of you getting the champion you're looking for in a progressive is rare. The chance of you getting a champion you're really looking for, even at a 2x, is not great. And meanwhile, getting a guaranteed champion that you can literally see their kit and say, I'm going to get this champion if I do these things. There's a lot of value in that. And we talked a little bit about that in the video we did before, so I'm not going to rehash that too much. But shards are probably the first big bugaboo. And, even mystery shards. Mystery shards are a huge commodity in a lot of these fusions, because 500 mystery shards is the equivalent of 1 sacred shard in a summon rush. So you absolutely positively can do a summon rush entirely with mystery shards if you hate yourself and don't mind wasting.
I was about to say.
It's not as bad as it used to be because there's some quick ways to get rid of those champions, but it is definitely a time sink and a little bit of a silver sink to pull 300 mystery shards or 500 mystery shards or 3,000 mystery shards in some cases. I've actually done it before.
I've done it also.
But
sometimes
it
you
is
have
nice.
to.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, you've got 9,000 there because you probably haven't had to do it in a while. But
not on this account. This account, I just
but
grabbed
it is
the
nice
credit
to
card.
have. It is nice to have over 1,000 mystery shards available to be able to supplement some of those shards when you want to and need to for events. So don't underestimate running campaign, because campaign's where you get those mystery shards.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think also the summoned fragments also is really important for the champion chase. I know that we touched upon it a little bit in the video that you and I did, but like this is a lot of points that you can get just even like, so when you're doing Doom Tower for an example, and you're doing the secret rooms and you're getting these fragments, hoarding these fragments for a champion chase is the equivalent of pulling sacred shards. I mean, it was actually even better because sacred shards, you have a huge chance of just getting epic. That at least gives you a guaranteed legendary, which is more impactful in champion chases, for example. So yeah, I think that's really important, hoarding your shards. And I think that's when I'm giving advice for people who are new to raid, I always say your number one priority is getting Nightmare and Clan Boss. Getting to Nightmare and Clan Boss is so important because of it's really the only way outside of missions to get sacred shards. There's not a way to farm sacred shards in this game. The event dungeon doesn't offer it. The only other way to get them for quote unquote free is in tag team, and you have to be gold, and getting gold is insane. Yes, they have talked about changing that, so it's not as crazy to get into gold, but you have to get 30,000 points. And then,
yeah, I mean, there are a couple ways you can actually get them. There's 2 of them you can get a month for Doom Tower if you can beat Doom Tower hard. If you can't beat Doom Tower hard, you might only be able to get 1 or none of those. You do get 1 monthly from your daily quests, so there's that one as well. So you can get a few of them for free just from that particular sort of content, and then you can get 1 from gold. But that means if you're in gold tag and can beat hard Doom Tower and are doing all your stuff every day to where every 30 days you get 1, that is for a month.
Yeah.
Now, for a month is okay, but if you're doing Clan Boss, Ultra Nightmare and getting the top chest on both of them and getting double the both chests, I think the average expected value is somewhere between 8 to 12 sacred shards just from that. So that is how powerful and important doing Clan Boss can be. Just from the sacreds, but honestly, you also get voids from that. You get voids from the lower levels as well, so it doesn't hurt to do the lower levels. So once you can actually, 2 key Nightmare, 1 key, or 2 key Ultra Nightmare, 1 key Nightmare, and 1 key Brutal, well, it makes sense to actually still keep on 1 keying Brutal, because you can occasionally get Sacreds and Ancients, which are still shards that will help you get some of these champions.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's and you also get gems. You can get gems and you can get books. So there's so many resources that you get from Clan Boss that help you with all of these fusions, especially the champion training, I believe, is where you can use books, and you get an unbelievable amount of points through doing books instead of like dumping a bunch of either energy or potions into leveling up your guys. And that's something that I also would like to, there's obviously a lot of tactics that come into especially champion training. What would you suggest is the most efficient way to complete champion training events?
That's probably going to depend on where you're at in the game. For me, for my free-to-play account, which is 165 days in at the moment, give or take, I will generally try to hoard chickens in some way, shape, or form. And by chickens, it's not necessarily going to be actual chickens. I mean, those are nice too. But I will regularly start taking 2-star champions and make them level 20 in campaign in between doing other things as well. And in fact, generally when it is time for running campaign for my dailies, if it is the run 7 campaign normal stuff, I will run 12-3, and I will actually put on super raids. I have the 2x experience thing. I mean, I still don't quite know how I have it done, because I now have 9 weeks left of 2x experience on my account, on my free to play, where I've never spent a dime, and I keep on accumulating more of them than I'm spending. It's hilarious. But for just, what I will do is you run that 5 times on super raids, which is 10 runs effectively. And I've got I've got 3 level 20, soon to be 3-star chickens for champions. I would then be making those to 4 stars and whatever else. So getting somebody from level 1 to level 2 and from level 2 up to level 20 isn't a lot of champion training points. Leveling up a champion at level 3 gives you a little more. ascending them gets you a little bit more. Once you get to 4-star and 5-star, that is really kind of where it goes. So on my free to play, I've got a bunch of 2-star chicken, or 2 stars ready to be 3-star chickens. On my main, I have a bunch of 3 stars ready to be 4-star chickens and 4 stars ready to be 5-star chickens, kind of prepped up, just because that's how they tend to run. And then I'll use them in the sparring pit. I'll run them in the sparring pit up to 40. So I'll take a 4-star champion that's going to be a chicken, and I'll run them up to level 40. And I like to actually run a bunch of champions at the same level in there. So I'll actually take 5 4-star champions that are the same level and run all 5 of them in there. And that way I can actually, only have to go in there, click, and I get all 5 of them up to the next level at the same time. And over the course of a week, they are ready to be the 5-star chickens. So that's how I'll do that. Then once I make a 4-star a 4-star champion, on my free to play, if I make a 3-star champion, I'm going to use those 3 stars as chickens, I will put 1 brew into them. 1 brew gets me like 7 or 8 levels at, I don't remember exactly how many it is. It's, it actually gives me 9 levels. So that gives me 9 extra levels of points for 1 brew, which is a great trade-off from an efficiency standpoint. If I'm making a 3-star, or a 4-star, I should say, if I've got a 4-star champion, before I do anything with them, I will put 6 brews into them. That gives me level 25, but that gives me, I think it's 72 extra points in champion training. So if I just made 3 chickens, that's an extra 100 to 220-ish points for just throwing 6 brews in on 3 champions. That's a lot of extra points. And if I only need a few thousand points, you could almost do it just by brewing up a bunch of 4-star and 5-star champions to a low level, and then they're just ready to go afterwards. And the 5 stars, I go 8 brews. So a 5-star chicken, you get 8 brews in there, and that gets them to level 28, which is about where it kind of drops off and you start getting less than 2 levels per brew. But that's another 170 points just for 1 champion. And finally, if I make a 6-star champion, because sometimes I will make 6-star champions during this and I don't plan on doing anything with them right away, or I made them because I want to use them in later content, but I don't need to max them out, I'll throw 10 brews in a 6-star champion, and that gets them to level 30. And oftentimes I find I can take 10 brews, throw them in a champion, they'll be level 30, and then I start running them through Minotaur to finish up all the Minotaur scrolls, and they'll be level 57 or 58 when they're all done, and then I just throw whatever remaining brews I have into them to get them up to level 60.
Yeah, especially running Minotaur. I'm glad that they're adding super raids. My God, it's a much needed complaint that I think all legacy players have had. And I think that's also something that's super important that you mentioned, right? Leveling to get you're using energy to level up champions as well as getting those scrolls. There's been so many times that I have mistakenly put in I've maxed out a character for during an event like this, and then been like, oh my God, I don't have enough gems to put masteries on this person. So then you have to run Minotaur, and you're not really getting as much out of running and getting those scrolls. What is it, 160, 165-ish battles for Minotaur to get all the scrolls?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact number, but it's around 520-ish gems on average. And
in energy,
maybe a little more, maybe a little less, depends on what it is. But yeah, you get some experience. You also get about 2 million silver for doing it too. So it's not like the silver is not usable. It's that's obviously not great, but that'd be double your silver you have on this account right now.
I know, it's terrible. I'm always out of silver.
It is, yeah, so it is saving 250-ish gems and getting some extra silver and getting some XP, which means also saving a bunch of brews that you might have used if you just brewed up the champion as well. So I find it a very efficient way to run. Now, in my endgame account, I find I'm not always building masteries on every champion I'm building now, because I find that the value in getting masteries on a, say, epic that I'm using for a single secret room in Curse City doesn't give me a lot of value to make them masteried as well. So that's a waste of energy, in my opinion, there. But for most champions, particularly for legendaries that I plan on using for any significant amount of time, or champions that require investments where I had to choose to book them because I didn't have enough books otherwise, which basically means legendaries and mythicals. Yeah, you bet I'm going to be getting masteries on them. And honestly, at this point in time, even if it's a mythical I don't know if I'm going to use, I'm going to put masteries on that mythical regardless, because mythicals are just so powerful. And the mythicals you might use yeah, you might end up not, if you have a super end game account, you may find a mythical is not as usable as you might like otherwise. But for an early game account, that whatever mythicals you pull, they're going to be absolutely huge because there are very few mythicals that are worse than most legendaries. So
they all have some utility, which is nice, right? And you get a lot of like, and I know that this is a little bit of a sidetrack, but I do like how the mythicals in this game, like the free ones, Lady Mikage and Emerus, and then there's the one you get from Hard, Curse City, Carnage. They're all like super good, like free, like obviously Commodus, one of, if not the best PvP like champions in the game. Like he's great, but like Emerus also stacks up in his own way to Commodus, and he's a free mythical that you do have to grind for, but you still have the opportunity to to get him. Mm-hmm. Now, I do want to ask you, when you're preparing for the future.
Before we get on there, we're talking about prep work.
Yeah.
And one of the things I should mention with my method of doing the tavern, that means I want to stock up on brews, and that means I'm probably going to want to stock up on some chickens and stuff like that too. So I'm probably looking to have 200-ish to maybe 300-ish brews
of each
stocked up for a fusion to be able to do that sort of thing. You don't need billions of them, but it is nice to have about 200 to have some flexibility. It is nicer to have closer to 500 if you can, which I know seems like a large number, but I mean, you've got more than 500 everywhere. Yeah. Having more than 500 means for a classic fusion, I have the option to not have to run campaign to, in an emergency, build up a champion so that I can fuse them into the other champion. Now, campaign's a better way to go because you're getting silver, you're getting, gear you can sell, you're possibly getting mystery shards, you might even get free champions out of it because you can earn champions through those. So, but it takes energy. And if you're low on energy and you're low on gems, well, then the brews can be another savior for a fusion that you're struggling with as well. So that's something, we're going to talk about hoarding resources. That's a resource worth hoarding, honestly, is making sure you're not just randomly brewing up every random champion you can and saving some of those brews. And that may even be doing things like buying brews in tag. It's not the worst value because brews are actually kind of valuable. In tag, you've got, it's only 3 for 300. Doesn't seem like a lot, but if you have a ton of the gold bars, because you do, it can be a viable way to get resources that could be useful for you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I was going to ask you like how much energy you normally either try to save up for, which I know you hate that I save. Like I just am always, I know that's a huge pet peeve of yours. And it's always better to, save them, just save the brews in your inventory to use it. But I do think that's super important that you mentioned the brews, right? Because if you have the choice between using your brews or energy, you should use your, in my opinion, because you have dungeon divers that you have to go for. That's normally an unbelievable amount of energy. You have all the different tournaments, the dragon tournament, the fire knight tournament, the spider tournament. All of those require energy to use. So to go back to what you're saying, you're picking and choosing the amount of like where to like split up your resources. And since fusions are getting like more and more difficult, it's becoming more and more important to figure out, okay, so for the next fusion, how do I prepare the best way? And I think that's a really good call out that you made here. Now, like I said, how much energy do you normally try to aim for to feel like you are very secure in a fusion?
I will probably look to save the equivalent of about 20 refills worth of energy. And that can be 800 gems or maybe even up to 1,000 gems. 1,000 gems probably a little safer. But you can also count ones you can store in your chest as well. So you get every other day, you get a free energy refill from Polarium. So they have the daily reward. Not just that, the packs you get. So the free pack you get every day.
Yeah.
You get one of those for free every other day, effectively. So you probably claimed it.
Yeah, I think I already claimed it.
But so you can build those up, and those can certainly count in addition to the gems. But having that many available gives you the ability to pivot and occasionally do, because sometimes it may take 10 refills worth of energy to get yourself 1,000 to 1,500 points in Dungeon Divers, for example. And the ability to have all those 20 available is great. Now, you're going to get more of them as you do the event, the fusion, because you're going to get obviously your daily energy. In addition to, you're going to get extra the daily, the other daily one that gets, stashed away. You're going to have that as an option. You're going to get energy from different events that you do, like the gear ascension event, for example, or the gear enhancement event that often has energy involved with that, for example, as well. You're going to get other energy. You're going to get more gems. You're going to get more resources. So these are like a worst case scenario in case the events don't go their way or you don't get the right stuff. This is what you should have on hand. And it allows you to, if you have to, push really early for something so that you can kind of take the break, ease off the gas just a little bit towards the end of the fusion. I like to front load my fusions as far as getting as much stuff done early on, not because sometimes it actually pays out better to do it later. Like, for example, the Tholin fusion, there was a bunch of Titan event points that happened at the end that I was planning on skipping, and I ended up not being able to skip on my free-to-play. But I had the choice to skip them if I wanted to, and if I decided I didn't want the 5-star soul, I still could have skipped them because I had done some of the stuff in advance. It also means, for example, something happened and I have to stop playing Raid for a day or two. If I've front-loaded some of the events, I haven't missed a fusion because I had to do something else, because real life is certainly much more important than Raid. So, don't let that ruin your Raid, Yeah,
I totally agree. And I also totally agree, with the front-loading. If there's a chance for me to get the epic, especially for this event, obviously there's fragment events. There are fragment summons. This is like a champ. We're mainly talking about Tholin fusion, which you could have gotten one of the epic champions, which saves you so much time. And you also get to choose down the line, hey, I don't want to dump a bunch of resources and, let's say, Dungeon Divers. So I can skip that event and do something a lot easier. You can pick and choose. It gives you a lot more freedom and wiggle room, as well as you have if it's a fragment event, you can use that to, get mod over here as well.
Well, one of the things too with the Dungeon Divers event that I do want to point out too with champ training is this will depend on how you're going to do your champ training. Yeah. On my main, I do most of my champ training in the tavern now, just because I've got all the resources kind of saved up and hoarded up. And I've got almost 2,000 brews on everything, for example. So I can just literally just brew up a champion and go nuts. And that's just how I choose to do them oftentimes. Sometimes I will do it by skill upgrades as well. And, occasionally I'll run some campaign, but generally I have so many chickens ready to go because I'm running them in other content. I don't need to run campaign that much. On my free to play, campaign is actually a good source of dungeon diver points as well. So I actually like to do some champion training in the campaign because that energy is also going towards dungeon divers as well. So it's certainly not the most efficient dungeon divers points, but it means I'm getting dungeon divers points and champ training points and possibly building champions I want to build, because I'm obviously building chickens to be able to eventually build a 6-star of a champion I want to build up. And I'm also getting silver out of it, and I'm only using a little bit of energy. It's certainly not the most efficient energy usage in any one particular case, but overall, since you're getting the most out of your energy by doing that, it's a great way to go.
Yeah, I agree. Now, when we're talking about energy, right? So we've talked about gems, how to use the gems, how to use the tavern, the amount of energy approximately for some of the dungeons. When you're doing gear enhancement, how much silver do you think that you can? I mean, a lot of it is especially with the spider tournament, you can get a lot of silver during those events. What I normally do with the gear enhancements is I normally just 16 my speed boots, and then go down the list after, if I go to gloves and so on and so forth. Is there a special tack to trying to spend the least amount of silver? Is the best way to do it is picking one piece of gear that's 6-star and then 16 that, or is it a good idea to, let's say, 8 plus 8 all of your artifacts or whatever?
Yeah, there's kind of a couple different tactics for it. For an early game account, I think that actually rolling a bunch of stuff to +8 or +12 is a great way to do the event. It's probably not going to be the most silver efficient, but it allows you to do some cleansing, because as you roll something to +8 or +12, it might say, oh God, that's a really, really bad piece of gear. I don't need that anymore. So you can certainly go for that. I certainly focus on rolling up my artifacts over accessories because those are both cheaper to roll up and you get them easier, so they're a little easier to sell versus the accessories, which, to be fair, I'm so loaded with accessories. I've got probably about 150 of them in my vault at this point in time, right, or my inbox right now, so I need to clear some of those out as well. But it lets you know what gear you have. It lets you, which means it makes it easier for you to build champions in the future, but it also highlights the stuff that is easy to sell so you can sell it. So I roll something up to +8 and then sell it. That's almost a no-op for silver, which means that you didn't lose any silver, you didn't gain any silver. But that's fine because you just gained rolling something to +8 points in
and the silver
event.
back.
So, so that from that perspective, that's good. Getting it to +12 means you're losing a little bit of silver if you end up selling it, but at least you then generally know what the piece is going to be, at least, 75% of what the piece is going to be, because you don't know the final ascension of it, obviously. But generally, if you know that 3 of the ascensions are good, well then, rolling the +16 is fine. Another tactic that is actually kind of fun and is a good way to save silver is if you find gear, especially gear that's on champions that you haven't quite rolled up for, this is more of an early game account than a late game one. So if I have a weapon on my Fabian, for example, and I might roll that up to +15 over the course of the daily enhancement events. Or your Sulfurion, actually, that's a good example. He's got a +8 ring. Well, that would actually be good to roll a +12 right now, or probably even +16 if it's going to be a good ring for him.
Oh, yeah, it is going to be. Oh, yeah, it goes in the HP.
I don't know about that. I actually think about reworking that maybe if you need this. But, regardless, if it's a good piece, and I know I want it to 16, doing my dailies, I might just upgrade it to 1 level to 14, and then upgrade it to 15, and then leave a bunch of stuff at +15. So I've already kind of sunk the silver cost ahead of time. And then when a gear enhancement event happens, hey, all that 15 stuff suddenly goes up to 16. It saved me all the gear from all the rolling from 12 to 15. And I only have to do the 16 part. So you're saving out some of that. And there's no reward from going from 12 to 13 or 14 or 15. It's only at 4, at 8, at 12, and at 16.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a really good tactic as well. I do that mainly on my free-to-play account. I'm a little bit more lazy on my main account because I have less shackles. If I'm in a pinch, I can buy energy and then grind out spider, get the silver, you know what I mean? So it's a lot easier for someone who pays money to do these events, obviously a lot more secure than a free-to-play account, which is oh my God, if I'm not doing all these different steps, there's a good chance that I'm going to miss the fusion. And I've missed fusions on my free-to-play account because I have not allocated my resources efficiently. And I've missed some pretty big, and important fusions on that account that would have made the account a lot stronger than it is now.
Yeah, so silver, for example, I like going into a fusion with about 20 million silver.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good, you're going to get 20, obviously
it's about 15 to 20 million silver to do a gear enhancement event, but you will earn more silver as you go, and if you can skip one of those gear enhancement events, that can save you a bunch of silver as well. That said, gear enhancement is actually one of the better ways to make your account better because it forces you to roll up gear that you may or may not be using. But if you're using it, then obviously rolling it up gives you stats that are hopefully usable. And if you're not using it, you might find that it's actually good, or you might find it's bad and sell it. Either way, you're making movement with the gear, which is very helpful. The other thing you can certainly do, which is certainly helpful, is in the Forge. If you have a bunch of if you go to resilience gear, for example, okay, you've actually done most of it, but you'll see there's the 3 and 4 star stuff.
Yeah.
That's a good, easy silver forge. So I might run through, or Defiant. There you go. So if he doesn't have a lot of stuff for Righteous, I could see him forging that 180, just selling absolutely everything. And that could be 3 to 5 million silver. So it's actually a good amount of silver for that 3 to 4 stuff. It's pretty easy to do, especially because you can now do it with the auto thing that's kind of hiding behind me here.
Right here. I had the quick, you can make the filters and such.
But yeah, you make the filter, you sell it, you don't keep any 3 or 4 star because you're not keeping 3 or 4 star in the end game anyway. And then you run it and it just instantly sells everything and you get a bunch of silver.
Yeah, I think that's, you know what, I recently had to do this also because I just have so many, I had so many of these steel bars, and I just I hate seeing this right here it bothers me. I don't know, maybe it's just like the red, and of course I say that in I have all these red dots, so a little bit of a hypocrite right there. But I think that's another great way. I mean, campaign farming is great. Doing the tournaments and dungeon divers is great. If you're in a pinch, Forge is also really good. And this is also a great time to progress your account by rolling gear. I normally wait until fusions or clan versus clan to roll my gear. So during, like, you know, I'm waiting a lot of the time on these quote unquote maybe like amazing pieces of gear, and obviously some pieces you're gonna roll up are not gonna be that great, but like that is like during these fusions are the time to kind of to do that and to pick what gear you like and what you don't. Now I think I've a really great transition is talking about planning, and I know that we've kind of skirted around it a little bit. There's a lot of really great tools that have come out more recently. Before, it was just kind of like you're kind of in your mind mentally like tracking. What is a really good resource that players, you know, young and old, can use to help track their fusions?
Well, there's a couple of them, and I know there's one we talked about that we'll get to the final one of those. I usually will do a video, and I'm not the only content creator to do a video, but several content creators will do a video where we will actually go over the calendar that Raid does publish and talk about the different events, talk about which events we think are worth skipping versus when they're not worth skipping, when you should pay attention to what type of event you're doing as well. And those are good to look for. And on top of, honestly, you can actually take that calendar and just simply mark it up all you want. You can make a spreadsheet to deal with it. I've heard people that have made spreadsheets to track the fusion as well. And the one I really, really like that Fastidious, another good content creator, has put out is he has a website where he talks about this stuff here. And I had sent this over to Dark Sword earlier. And this literally is a way to track the fusion. So you can click over, like on Dungeon Divers, it says not started. You click on that, it'll say you've started the event. You can then click on it again, it'll go to finished. You can click on it again, it'll go to skipped if you decide you want to skip it instead. But once you've finished it, you also then can click on the actual champion itself. So, you know, and it puts them down there. And then if you click on that little screwdriver there, or the wrench down there, that will actually show you what resources are used, because that means that you have finished 4-starring and ascending that champion to the next level to fuse them up. You get enough of the champion. So say you pull an extra champion, well, you can click on one of the ones down below and get an extra one. You can also click on the epics for tracking the epics to pull them as well. Now, this is, of course, the classic fusion tracker. There's a tracker for fragment fusions, and that's one's pretty easy because the fragment fusion tracker is literally just going to tell you 5 fragments here, 10 fragments here, add them up for you. Hey, look, you finished them. It'll even have markers for whether or not you have gotten the winning fusions for winning, like the champion training usually is one of the ones where you can get one, or the summon rush is another one where you can get extra fragments. So you can do all of that stuff as well. On top of that, you'll notice that their colors on the top are to let you know when the potion keeps are open. So that's the potion keep rotation for that
Forge.
day.
Yeah,
and that's,
awesome.
And those days are they're in European time because, he wanted
That's
to be
Valerium is also
good for 90% of the world as opposed to just us US folks that use the wrong dates. So that's very useful as well. And this gives you a way to track this. And you can either track this by logging in and saving this information, or you can just kind of mentally remember some of this stuff. And every once in a while when you want to go in and plan it out and see, all right, well, if I skip this fusion and I make this particular thing here, how am I going to go with getting all this stuff? So there's a lot of really good resources for this, and Fastidious put a lot of work into it. And I like using this one. I've called it out a couple times. It's a really good tool for tracking the fusion. And so go check it out.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna put this in my description as well, because I just think it's such a great resource. Because I know for me personally, there's a lot of the time that I am like, where am I in this fusion? Like, I have no idea. All I know is that I've been doing events, and there are definitely been times I'm like, wait, did I miss an event? Because like I will be either down fragments or champions. I'm like, man, what did I miss? And with this, you can actually visualize, oh, I missed this dungeon diver event. That's why I'm down one of the rares. Again, you know, you could do it in a lot of different ways for like tracking, but I think that Fastidious did it, to go what you said, did a really great job with this tool. And there's a lot of really great tools in this game. The Artifact Enhancer is really good. RSL Helper is great. If you need help with Clan Boss, Deadwood Jedi, Fastidious has a lot of really great tools on his website as well to help you progress your account, not just for fusions, but you know, just progress your account in general. So it's really great to see the ecosystem of Raid and how many resources there are, so you don't feel like you're just totally alone and kind of like aimlessly walking through the game. And I really should start doing these videos going over like the events and like and planning a little bit more. As a content creator, I should probably jump on that, but I have been a little bit lazy on that front. So
it all depends on a lot of stuff too. Like I said, I do it because it's something I enjoy doing and it fits my content style. Maybe it doesn't fit your content style. Not every content creator needs to do the same content, which is, you know, why the content creator landscape is great. You know, different people do different kind of content. You're very much I enjoy Raid. I'm having fun with this. These are kind of the cool things that I've seen here. I tend to do more of a teaching background type stuff. You know, Ash certainly kind of tries to mix those things, for example, and is just kind of a wild guy. And, you know, and it's all, you know, and there's a great, you know, and these guys are great. It's, you know, I've worked with several of them before. Obviously, I'm working with you right now. And, you know, it's a great community of content creators, and there's a lot of great content out there. And if you decide that the guides that I put up aren't great for you, then check out Nub Raids. He'll do one as well. Colred will usually do one as well. You know, two other very prominent content creators that'll tend to do one. There's other content creators that'll do that stuff as well. So, you know, or maybe if you want this guy to let him know down below if you want him to do some of the fusion planning as well.
Yeah, if you want to hear me yap about it.
You know, or just, you know, get confused if he's directing you to do this over here, and by the time it looks like a football play when it's all, you know, the arrows and the other stuff like that, you know. And,
yeah, I'm a little bit scatterbrained sometimes. Oh man, yeah, you guys will have to let me know if you're interested in me being not necessarily news oriented, but like for like big events like this, planning it out, getting my perspective on things. Like Bront said, there's a lot of really great content creators that are definitely more knowledgeable than me. Bront is definitely one of them. I am just definitely more of the I like, look at this really cool thing that I did. Hey, look at this really cool thing I discovered. Hey, you know, this is how you could like do this piece of content. Is it the most educational? I think it is, but if you're looking for like a really deep dive, these other creators are fantastic as well. Now, Bront, do you have like any final pieces of advice that you can give to, like I said, old and young players to prepare for this, whatever the upcoming fusion is in the future?
Yeah, I think yeah, it's mostly a saving resources, and that means that when there's not a fusion going on, you know, I hate to say wait Shadow Legends, but that is kind of the joke for this stuff. But there's some truth to sometimes just taking a break from certain things or not diving in too hard. Minotaur, we talked about Minotaur being a good thing to run. Minotaur is not a particularly efficient thing to run during a champion training. While yes, you can level up a single champion in there, you're using a lot more energy in Minotaur for a lot less resources than you would, say, doing campaign running, for example, or even leveling them up if you have like a solo strategy where you level up champions in a dungeon. Generally, you're getting better gear for the dungeon, plus you're getting other stuff as well, which can help with your dungeon divers and your champ training better than Minotaur. And that's kind of the unfortunate part. The Minotaur is probably the least rewarding area of the game outside of getting the scrolls that make your champion significantly better, because masteries can give you about 20% more damage as well as other things as well.
Huge
Pretty
damage.
Impressive.
Almost as important as gear.
Yeah, so it definitely makes sense to sometimes kind of compartmentalize the fusion is happening, so this is where I need to focus now, versus the fusion is now done, I can now focus on these other things, you know. And that's really kind of the way to, honestly, probably the best way to play and get the most out of your account is to tunnel vision just a little bit. When a fusion's happening, my first focus should be making sure that this fusion happens, because if I'm investing resources into it, I have lost a lot of resources if I decide to not actually finish the fusion, which to be fine. You can always decide to not finish a fusion later on, or maybe you can find early on that you couldn't actually get through and do it. But I generally recommend that most people should start up until the first shard event trying for a fusion, because if you get to the first shard event and you cannot make it on shards, then you can just say, okay, I'm done. But if you decided to skip it before the first shard event and you manage to get lucky in Clan Boss and suddenly have enough shards to make it, you'll be kicking yourself, because then you have to get lucky and pull a champion, or maybe you just simply can't do it with fragments, or maybe you have to buy the fragments. You know, it's there are just better ways to deal with it. So yeah, that's overall. You know, get yourself at least 20 million silver, probably 30 or 40 if you want to be really safe. Keep yourself about 20 refreshes worth of energy, so at least 800 gems and or 20 refreshes. Get yourself a decent amount of shards. I really recommend at least 6 sacred shards going into an event if you can manage to pull that off. And then probably somewhere between either 30 void shards or 50 ancient shards. We'll usually do the 2x ancient or 2x void events, or at least close enough that you can then either use mystery shards or fragments or other stuff like that to be able to get the final way. And if there happen to be a fusion that happens to be over both a champion chase for 2x sacreds as well as the actual 2x sacreds, those are the tough ones. Those are often the ones where a free-to-play may decide to just skip, period, or maybe you may have to be creative and figure out how to not pull sacred shards for one of those 2 events.
Yeah, and definitely don't use your primals if you can. Like, the only time you should ever pull primals are on 2x events, because the rates are terrible.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if pulling 2 primals means you get the fusion,
oh yeah,
that's
for sure.
That's you know, that's what we're criticizing. But you don't want to plan on, I'm going to yeet all my primals because that's going to get me the fusion. No, try to avoid doing it if you can, and if you have to, well, then you're kind of making the choice of, am I giving up a chance on 1 or 2 shards to get a mythical? Maybe. Am I guaranteed that legendary? Yeah, that might be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, those events, those summit events are numerous days. They're like a day or 2. So there's a good chance that if you're farming Ultra Nightmare, which we talked about at the start of this video, you're going to be able to get maybe a sacred shard, or maybe a sacred shard or 2. Maybe you'll definitely get not mystery shard. Wow. An ancient shard. Wow, I don't know why I was mixing those 2 up. You'll be able to get these other shards. So, you know, also patience is important too. But yeah, I mean, this is the time the prep is between fusions, right? And since the fusions are getting harder, B, Plarium is just throwing fusions at us, like pelting us in the face with all these fusions. You know, this is the time in the quote unquote downtime to be hoarding your resources. So Bront, thank you so much for spending the time with me talking about this. I think this would be a great video for not just newer players, as I think that there has been a lot of new people joining the game recently, but also the old farts like you and I who've been playing the game for years and years and years, who, you know, yes, in particular, I've been playing the game for years, but I'm still constantly learning and evolving my strategy within this game because of the information that I'm given. And, you know, again, if I had like videos and content like this when I first started, I feel like I would be a lot more progressed in my raid journey. So again, Bront, thank you so much for meeting with me. If you guys have not checked out Bront, again, he does daily videos on his League of Legends channel. He does also stream as well.
Channel. League of Legends channel.
Yeah, League of Legends. Yeah, I'm so sorry. The League of Legends content creator in me, that's like the default game for me. I'm so sorry. Bront Raid Shadow Legends channel. I have a League channel. I'm so sorry. Freudian slip right there. Freudian slip right there. He also does stream Raid on Twitch, guys. So go and check him out. His information will be down in the description. Again, thank you guys so much, and I'll see everybody in the next video.